Yes, the lady.
We are ready. You can see they're all in. Can you see that?
Now I have to sit up straight.
Oh, you do? And all those other bits and pieces. It's time to get the hair right and all those bits and pieces. We're starting our show in a minute. And the first letter that we'll be addressing tonight, Bid, have you seen these letters?
I have.
When I suggested to Mum and Dad that something, they became defensive, and I don't know how to intervene. What's that about?
Well, that's about whether a daughter should tell her father to lift his game in the treatment of his mum.
Ooh.
Her mum.
Second letter tonight, he copped it on the chin.
Yes.
Said he was more than sorry and he was totally candid with his sexuality. Oh. Do you need to be? What's it about, Daz?
Too many things to unpack here, but it goes on to talk about, a grandchild and a can of beer.
Oh.
So it starts there.
One that we like.
There. Yeah, it'll go lots of places.
And the last letter tonight's about a sweet dear 80-year-old lady. She's so endearing, she wouldn't hurt a fly, and she's a criminal. All these letters, a terrific crew. Sweet and sour, don't go away. Coming up right now. Who's first?
Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our motley crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Pour some sugar on there, baby.
It's time for Sweet and Sour.
How's about some chili?
It's time for Sweet and
So,
Sour.
here we go. Good evening, everyone. Gary Mitchell with you for the next half hour. Who have we got in tonight? Well, you saw them all already. First up, hello, my mate, Bid. How are you?
I'm really well. I feel like a bald bookend.
I could probably find one.
Smarty.
Yeah,
And you'll see Daz in a minute down at the other end as well. How are you? Mate?
No, I'm really good. And
You
you,
didn't
Mitch?
bring in Mary.
No,
Mary,
no. Look, she's...
Your wife of how many years?
27, I think.
27 years. She's ailing at home, is she?
She is,
Little?
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
well, we send you our best,
See you,
Mary. All right. Hello, mate.
Hi, darling.
Devil's Tears has got something else. Can I do that?
Organic turmeric tea.
We don't do plugs, but that was magnificent.
Thank you.
You gave me one, and
It's a great drink.
I did take it over to my Olga, but as you instructed me, I left her the small one.
Naughty man.
Well, I was going to do the generous thing and go, I'll leave you the big one and all that sort of thing, and I liked it too much. There you go, love.
I'll send you
that's
one.
it. All right, thank you. Nice to have you here, Jill.
Nice to be here.
Where have you been? What have you been doing?
Work, work, work.
Work. How many followers have you got? 18,000.
18 on going on to 19.
Going on tonight, you can start
think
your own
so.
religion soon. There's a lot of money in that, I hear.
Yeah, and it's tax deductible. Actually, it's tax free.
It is. How are you, Des?
All good. I'm thinking about starting. You know what? Bugger a religion, go straight for a cult.
Where do I sign?
See? Look at that. One down already. You can join me. There'll be emails at the end of the program.
Terrific. Good to have you here, mate. Here we go. Beyond Joking, the first one's titled, and it reads, My dad's a great dad. He's got a pretty keen sense of humour too. Well, he thinks so anyway. Thing is, he's always had a laugh, usually at Mum's expense. Mum's cool about it and just smirks. Last week I had to take them shopping because their car packed it in. I didn't realise how demeaning Dad is to Mum until my 7-year-old, their granddaughter, said to me in the middle of Woolies, "Why is Pappy so mean to Nan?" And it stopped me in my tracks and my radar went up. He had a sarcastic comment for every selection she made from the shelves. He looked satisfied after saying something derogatory and looked around to see who might be enjoying his brand of theatre. The penny has just dropped. I'm not certain, but I think his behaviour borders on being abusive and think I've just got used to it over the years. When I suggested it as much, both Mum and Dad became defensive, and now I don't know how to intervene. I don't even know if I should be speaking up or whether I'm just being oversensitive. Is it my place to do anything here? I think my dad is being far more than sarcastic, and in public it clearly sounds like abuse to me, and it comes to us from Belinda of Scarborough, WA, and if your mum and dad are watching that you've just written in about them, you think they're going to be a little more than defensive? Daz, what do you do?
Well, I mean, this is really tough. I mean, at first I thought, is this just a case of one of those relationships where, because to be fair, probably the first 5 or 6 years of my relationship with my wife was basically us being nasty to each other in public. But mostly, to be fair, only in public because it was part of the deal. And I wonder sometimes, is it just a case of Granddad Pappy just needs to maybe be sent to rock and roll band camp or something? Because, he's been one of those blokes that's been in a relationship for all this time, Granddad now, just feeling a bit put upon, just wants a stage maybe. But I don't know, and this is the trick. The thing that made me think, or maybe not, is when the 7-year-old comes along and says, why is he being so mean to Nan? Maybe there is a bit of wisdom in the kids. In the kid's statement, I don't know. It's
She's
difficult
not
to
used
know.
to it. Yeah.
It's difficult to know without being there and without hearing it, I guess. But maybe there is something that can be taken out of what you hear from your daughter. So I don't know. The next question though about how you bring that up and how you deal with, I don't know. It's because it's really hard to be an interfering kid with your parents' relationship. Like that's tricky stuff. So I don't have advice there.
I mean, I have to agree with Darren. I think there's a fine line, but I mean, look, so
How
many
do you know
relationships.
whether you're treading it or not? That's the big thing.
I mean, it depends on how her mum reacts, and she seems to be having a laugh. There must be something between them.
I wonder whether that's a habitual laugh or not. I don't know.
I mean, it's hard. We're not
Well, you know
there
what?
to see.
When they both got defensive, maybe that's a sign that maybe there was something to it. I don't know.
Maybe.
They both got defensive.
Yeah.
They can't behave any other way.
I mean, if they were just saying, oh no, it's fine. Look, then maybe go. Oh, well, I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. Maybe their reaction
It's
says
habitual.
something.
It's all the time. That's a little bit of a red flare, though, isn't it? If it's all the time. If it's once in a while and you're having a, joke at one another, that's good spirited.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jewel?
Yeah, I think it's abusive. I do. I think that the mother's used to it, and she probably thinks, don't bother, he's too old to change, she's used to it. I actually think it's abusive, and I think there's probably nothing that can be done because they're
Too late.
too late. Yeah, but I just think it's a little bit abusive, and I feel for the mum. I do.
What about if you just speak up every time you hear it from now on? Your radar's out.
Yeah,
And even if you just say, well, there you go again, lighten up on mum, maybe.
And the 7-year-old, she's picked up on that as well. That's not good. She does not need to see that.
It's not a good example.
Not at all.
For sure. Like,
Not at all,
Whether it's
yeah.
meant or not, like you don't want to be passing that kind of thing on.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's abusive. I do, unfortunately.
What's your take on it?
Yeah, look, I agree with everything that everybody said, but personally, I would talk to each of them separately. Because whatever the truth initially, whatever the truth of it, your mum is complicit in this. We teach people how to treat us by what we put up with, what we stop, and what we reinforce. And think about this: that if you were silent and your mum is actually suffering, how would you feel about that? And how would they feel about their legacy being what's coming out of the mouth of their 7-year-old granddaughter?
Yeah.
I keep coming back to the quote that when the truth is replaced by silence, then that silence in itself is a lie. You might want to think about that. Well, do you want to establish that truth? Do you want to say that truth? And I think perhaps you do.
Is it the kids' place to speak up? If they see it, they should speak up.
I think they
so,
they should in this case,
I do
because
too,
it's
yeah.
coming out of the mouth of the grandchild. If the grandchild is picking it up, I think that's good quality information.
I think you
Absolutely.
got to ask the mum. Is this
Quietly,
bothering you?
yes.
What's
Quietly.
going on?
Take her
is
away
this an
from
issue?
Dad.
Are we being a bit sensitive, or maybe you should have a chat to Dad about maybe lightening up in front of the kids?
We asked this question of you people at home, and this is what you said in answer to, should it be up to kids to step in between abusive parents?
There we go.
And the answers, 35% said yes, 65% said nah, keep out of it. I don't know whether I agree with that. I'd probably say something very quietly,
But then you
very
would.
calm. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my daughter
You'd
said
say
so,
something
yeah.
about pretty much anything, though, wouldn't you? To be
Can't
fair.
help it, bad habits.
I'd be concerned about my daughter. Yeah, I would really be concerned about her.
Yeah, the influence. When we
Hearing
come
that,
back, we're going to be talking about Kevin Spacey and what really happens with news and whether it's being manipulated or not. Of course it is, isn't it? More of Sweet and Sour. Don't go away.
Getting in touch with Sweet and Sour is easy. Just head to sweetandsour.net.au to send us a letter. And while you're there, why not check out our past episodes? Plus, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And for a behind-the-scenes look at Sweet and Sour, check us out on Instagram.
Have just been chasing it. Welcome back to Sweet and Sour. If you'd like to send us a letter, send it to the addresses that you just saw, and for everyone that we do read out and discuss, we're going to send you to the movies, courtesy of who?
Natalie Cameron.
Oh,
NRC
how good are you?
I know these things.
NRC Communications.
And is it Three Summers?
Three Summers, the Ben Elton movie? Yeah.
Shot all around Mandurah, did you know?
We did, because you told us earlier.
Well, I'm happy to provide the info.
Well done, thank you, Des.
A lot of appeal.
Hey,
A lot of appeal.
let's not talk about the peel. Thank you. That is a controversial name at this stage.
In the wake of Harvey Weinstein's exposed
Speaking of.
years of abuse, we have Kevin Spacey being accused of similar. I was taken aback. Not only did Kevin Spacey immediately offer his apologies, he also revealed himself as being a gay man. Not good enough, apparently, and he was immediately ridiculed for his statement and accused of hiding behind his homosexuality. Frankly, I couldn't work out what else he could have said to be more forthcoming. He copped it on the chin, said he was more than sorry, and was totally candid with his sexuality. To me, his integrity was unimpeachable.
Goodness.
Then I recalled that Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull was abused for a photo taken of him at the footy holding his grandchild and a can of beer.
Sorry, there's a bow, and it seems to be quite long. Is it just me, or sorry, carry on.
It's not just you.
There was tenuous, isn't it? There was abuse from every quadrant, which turned out to be a media beat-up. Some of the media concocted a negative angle of the warm family photo where no negativity really existed, all simply to garner attention, or as we know it, to sell more. Grossly untrue, but it was great news, or rather great fake news. Back to Kevin Spacey, thank goodness. Well, I'm of the view that the subsequent attacks on him are also fake news, concocted to keep milking the Weinstein bandwagon. Do the panellists agree? And how do we, as the unsuspecting public, tell the difference now between real and fake news? Because this is the real issue here. Nigel of Rosebery in New South Wales.
I have no idea.
The real issue, he says, is how to tell the difference between real and fake news.
Okay, right.
Nigel, look, a lie can get halfway around the world before the truth puts its pants on. It's all fake news these days. I was a journalist all around the world for 28 years. Today's news is more opinion than objective. It's more editorial than factual. They're obsessed with minute-by-minute events instead of issues. There's no context anymore. Newspapers are dying around the world. Commercial TV is an absolute joke. Radio is mostly rip and read from aggregate news sources. New media, the internet and so forth is just emerging with through the looking glass, and nobody knows what the new credible news source will be. But I have to take issue with you about Kevin Spacey. If that was an unimpeachable apology, I'll go he. Let's change the roles and the sexual orientation and see what it looks like for a minute. So, I'm a 40-year-old man and I want to bonk the babysitter. Yes, the person who originally complained about Mr. Spacey was 14. So, I don't, as you say, apologise up front. Instead, I say, I don't recall. But if anything happened, then I apologise for it. So, oh, and by the way, I was drunk, so everything's cool, right? And then, by the way, I say, oh, but it's all explainable because I'm heterosexual. Well, please, give me a break. It's just a nonsense.
How do you see this?
First, when I hear those two words, fake news, it just reminds me of the fake in the White House trouble.
Yep.
It really does. It's crazy. And for the record, he's not my president. Let me just get that out there. I think Harvey Weinstein should be put in prison. Period.
Well, they might. They've got enough evidence.
He needs to go to jail.
Still collecting.
And I think with Kevin Spacey, I think he made the mistake of linking his homosexuality to the abuse. That was a wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think he was hiding behind his sexuality as well. And his apology, that was an apology? I don't think so.
No.
It's just an acknowledgement.
That was an attempt to step out of a sticky situation.
I think so, yeah. And as far as the fake news is concerned, fake news is everywhere. It's all fragmented. It's all we've got. Exactly. Do your research and form your own opinions.
What do we do?
Yeah.
What news services do you look at?
None.
Smart.
It's all fake.
Smart now, isn't it? Yeah.
You can't. I mean, how do you even tell the difference? You can't even tell the difference these days.
And it's all bad news.
Everything's bad. What's happy?
It's
What's
horrible.
happy in the
That's the
media?
trouble.
Nothing's happy in the media.
And it's
Apparently that doesn't sell.
It doesn't
Of
sell.
course not.
And I heard one of the federal coppers, I think, saying, as violent a society as we have now, the perception that we're much less safe than we were 50 years ago and 30 years ago is really driven by all this news.
It's right, and the jury is very much clearly out on whether or not we actually are less safe than. I don't know that we are less safe than we were. That's the point. I think we're probably as safe as we were 30 years ago. We just feel more paranoid. Welcome to the world of paranoia. And fake news. Well, yeah, exactly. Everything is filtered through the arched window, I'm afraid. Like, we just don't know which one is real. Everything has got some kind of strange kind of angle to it, depending on where it's coming from. Yeah. Weinstein, Spacey, I think we're going to hear more of that because...
Sells.
Because
I think more accusers will probably come out.
Yeah. And it won't stop there either.
No.
There'll be a lot more people who will be involved. Were you guys surprised at any of this outpouring of, one comes out and accuses, and then there's a whole lot of bandwagon?
Well, it kind of...
Is there a danger of...
Well, it happened after Jimmy Savile passed away, and it needed to happen. So maybe this needs to happen.
Possibly, yeah.
We asked this question of you people at home. Do you believe the media are creating fake news to remain profitable and in business? And this is what you said. 69%. I want to know where the other 31% are actually, reading things.
Probably watching the news now.
And, well, don't go away. More of Sweet and Sour with an 80-year-old granny who's putting things in her pocket.
Oh my goodness.
Among other places. Don't go away. More of Sweet and Sour.
Among other places.
Hi there. Is that sweet and sour sauce in your pants, or are you just happy to see me?
Well, welcome back to Sweet and Sour. Here we go, straight into the last letter, touch and go grand, dear panellists. I've befriended a dear sweet elderly lady who's very endearing and wouldn't hurt a fly, but she's a thief. We went for a coffee some weeks ago, and in front of me she placed the lovely china cups in which we were served our coffees in her carry bag. I pretended not to notice, and that was hard to do. I put it down as a one-off and disregarded it. Now I'm forced to accept that she's quite mischievous. On a recent shopping date at the local shopping centre, she effortlessly detached an electronic sensor and stole a skirt.
Wow. That is a skill.
She's obviously quite adept at it. I've been avoiding her calls most recently, and the last time we were together, I told her I was aware that she was helping herself to property that didn't belong to her, and I wasn't going to be a party to theft. She told me that I shouldn't worry and that older people should be given an entitlement as money becomes quite scarce when anyone's on the pension.
Oh my gosh.
I care for her, but I just don't want to be an enabler. My daughter told me to simply call the police and have her charged, but I can't see what good that would do for a lady who's just over 80. What to do? Bronwyn of Burnside in South Australia. Katerina, what do you do with a lady who can't stop pinching things?
Poor thing.
Poor thing. Oh.
Call the cops on her. I feel sorry for her. She's probably trying to survive.
Maybe
She took that crockery.
Maybe she needed new gloves.
She probably has a rap sheet as long as her arm.
Maybe she's only just started. You assume she's been doing this all her life.
Hang on.
I wouldn't call the.
She effortlessly detached an electronic
she's
sensor
smart.
and stopped.
You can't get those.
Kat said she's smart.
Maybe she's just looked at a YouTube clip to learn how to do that.
Yeah. No, look, I wouldn't call the cops on her. I mean, that's.
She's good.
You know what?
When do you call the cops?
Not on an 80-year-old woman.
At what point do you call the
The
cops?
second she puts a cup in her bag, straight away, like no mercy. No, I reckon she's doing it because she'd like a bit more attention. So she probably appreciate the fact that the cops might come around and say hello.
Oh, it's
Make them a cup.
It's attention-seeking device.
With the cups that she's nicked, it'd be great.
I think she's a kleptomaniac.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Hands up. Who's nicked glasses from a pub?
Oh,
No,
in
never.
younger days.
Yeah,
oh,
well,
glasses.
not
Not glasses.
recently.
I used to
What, did
take
you nick staff?
spoons from a restaurant.
What?
Up until the age of...
No.
Up until the age of spoons or forks.
It was time for a life change at 80, isn't it? Yeah.
All right. So you would or you wouldn't charge her? Yes, you would.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd call the police.
Kat, would you call the cops?
No,
you've already said you would.
Maybe tell the person at the shop and say, what do you want to do?
All right. We asked you people at home, before we asked you to your thoughts, should you turn in elderly people who regularly steal from retail stores? And here's what you said. You compassionate people, 83% said yes.
Okay, all right. You're a lot more honest than we are.
What a compassionate society we've been building. All right.
My God.
Come on in, Bid.
I think if you witness...
Do you want to go?
I really do.
All right, okay.
Don't quote me, but I think if you witness someone committing a crime, that you have a legal obligation to make that phone call. I think you really do. And if you don't...
It could be a moral obligation.
Well,
do you?
I think
does that apply to all laws?
I think if you witness a crime being committed, you have a legal obligation to make that call, don't you?
Do you have a legal obligation? No.
I don't.
No?
No, not up to you. Do you have a moral obligation?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call it moral, but you have to do something.
But that's the thing. When you put it like that, it becomes a line ball call. It becomes your own call, and I don't know. Everyone's going to do that.
Now,
okay, but if she was stealing from, or not stealing from, if she was taking or getting advantage from an insurance firm or a bank, would you still feel the same?
Yes, I would. Yes, absolutely. I would, yes.
Okay.
It's wrong.
And
she's old enough to know better.
So you're with the 83% of people.
She's old enough to know better.
No compassion.
She needs to stop this.
No compassion. Okay. Only Katerina has got compassion so far. All right, Bid, the last word on this.
Look, I have to say, theft is theft, but I wouldn't call the police. I would have a quiet word to her family or her carer, or maybe perhaps whatever, and alert them. And my only other concern is that if this is unusual or new behaviour, perhaps it's quietly worth exploring whether this is a mental health issue, because there are unfortunate personality changes with dementia, perhaps. Otherwise, I think she's a thief.
Well, the thing is, she seems quite justified. She seems quite entitled in her thoughts about it, because she says, don't worry, older people should be given its entitlement as money becomes quite scarce. So
That's horse manure. That's ridiculous.
I don't like that bit. I don't agree with that bit.
Oh my goodness.
I think, if you're going to do it, don't say that.
What are you going to say?
For goodness sake,
having a right to something.
What are you going to say if you're confronted with that sort of thing?
Oh my goodness.
So, okay, I want to know though, apart from do you like this letter to give away the pair of limited edition Sundays, if you were having coffee with a lady and she put the bits and pieces in her bag,
I would leave.
You would leave?
I would leave.
I would taking the
I
sugar.
would just tell her to take him out and I'd go buy her something.
After taking all of the equal.
You'd go and buy her something?
If she really wants that.
Oh, how nice is that?
Oh, but get her something she's already hasn't stolen. That's what I'd say.
No,
Get her something she needs.
She probably needs nothing.
What would you do?
I would run, Forrest, run.
You'd
I
run
would
too?
run, yeah.
You'd get out, you'd say, excuse me, and go.
I don't want to know her.
Would you say to the shop assistant, excuse me, she's just...
It's in her bag.
Well, I would feel conflicted and sit there and do nothing, paralysed by indecision. It's true. I might as well be honest. I would.
Thanks for being on the panel, Prime Minister.
Before we lock up all the kleptomaniac old ladies, we're going to say good night. Thank all of our wonderful panellists. Thank our terrific crew. And thanks for having us at home tonight, Australia. Now we're going to send out a pair of limited edition sunnies to the lady who's still... Oh, no. Well, perhaps you can make a present of the glasses to the lady,
the glasses.
the 80-year-old.
Yeah. Or maybe take them and wear them and let her nick them.
We've got to go. Start waving. Good night, everyone. Don't steal anything until next week. And then not even. Okay, good night. Bye. Terrible.